So we're not the first ones to question God's salvation and whether or not we're his children. God promised the Israelites, you are going to be set apart. You are my holy people. And yet, they found themselves as slaves in Egypt. But God looked down at the Israelites, and he sees them suffering. He sees them struggling under their slave masters, and he decides to do something about it. That's good news. And he pulls up Moses to go to Pharaoh into his courts and say, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no. Over and over and over. And so God says, all right, I'll convince you, Pharaoh. And he sends 10 awful, terrible plagues on the Egyptians. And finally, Pharaoh's like, get out of here. You are just causing us to suffer. Go ahead and leave. And in that moment, not because of anything that the Israelites had done, but only because of what God had done, they got to leave their slavery. They got to walk out of Egypt completely free. No longer did their slave masters have any right to tell them what to do and where to go. Their value was no longer dependent on what they accomplished. Their value was only based on the fact that God chose them and God loved them. And that is an incredible illustration of your salvation. So these Israelites, they're on the edge. They're on the edge of freedom. All right, the Red Sea, and they're on the edge. And they're like, well, what now? Well, how are we going to get across this thing? And where are we going to get food, by the way, Moses? And things don't seem better out here. I had food in Egypt. There's no food here. What's going on? I'm not sure I like this. And they start mumbling and complaining, and then they look. And off in the distance, they see Pharaoh has changed his mind. And he is chasing them down on chariots. He is coming to kill many and take the rest back as slaves once again. And they are sitting there yet again wondering, has God lied to me? Am I actually saved by him? And in that moment, God had Moses step in to the Red Sea and hold his staff. And suddenly 2 walls of water were created and a dry path was made. And they walked across. They walked through the water, free and clear, to the other side. Basically, God confirmed his salvation by sending the Israelites through the water. Everyone say, through the water. And once completely safe on the other side, they looked back to see Pharaoh still chasing them, and the waters come back together. And God wiped away Pharaoh and his army and completely, totally saved them. They had questions, but on the other side of that water, they had no more questions. They were confident that their God had saved them.